guys, I tell my dad, I don't want a penny of your money when you pass away. And by the way, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow, and then who are you going to leave it to? You know, spend it now. Hey, let's go on a trip together.
Yeah.
Or go on a trip on your own. Enjoy yourself. I want nothing more than to see you have fun now than work so hard to save it all up
Right.
and then never really enjoy it yourself.
It's almost like a mindset of here's permission. We are just here to give you permission to say, live life by your own design. It's all out there. The more you see for yourself, the more you get. And I think both of us are examples of living that exact vision. So. Hey, Kyle.
What's up, Cinderella?
Don't call me that.
Cindy? Cindy? What do you want to be called?
None of the above.
Not even Cindy?
Oh my God.
Can I use your real name?
Okay, so how do I even meet you? Anyways, I met you on Bumble.
I think well,
For
fine.
people who say dating apps doesn't work.
Apparently they do.
Apparently
You
they
took
do.
one look at me and were madly in love.
No, I think it was a little bit more to do with the fact you advertised yourself in a tux saying, if you want a 6-star luxury life, Michelin restaurants, please apply.
I was fishing for gold diggers and I got one.
Oh, really? So now I'm actually a gold digger.
Well, you know, if the shoe
Anyways, like, let's see. How
the
long have I
shovel
known
fits.
you? I've known you for about, what is it now, 10 months?
Yeah, wow. Seems like forever.
Somehow we've come together in this fun lifestyle, and we're here today
Yep.
to talk about our idea of burn your kids' inheritance.
Burnt cake, fine. If you want to be burned, I thought it should be blowing the kids' inheritance, blowing through the kids' inheritance, as opposed to like just burning a stack of money to the ground.
I know, but that's not nearly as provocative.
It's being productive with what you have accumulated and enjoying it in the moment and not waiting until you're dead for it to make be put to use.
Okay, it's kind of boring.
Yeah, whatever.
I kind of, when I envision this together with you, I feel like it's a little bit more about the two of us back to back spinning around with money throwers or kind of like a pile of money, light a match to it, just as far as like the imaging of it.
Sure, you can make that image.
Okay, I like the image.
Fine.
So moving past the image, you like your Robert Graham shirts?
We doing endorsements right away. I love Robert Graham. I drape myself in Robert Graham limited editions because that's just, you know, I wear colorful clothes to make up for my very boring personality, I guess.
That's what I was kind of thinking, but I don't think I'll ever see it quite the same way after you showed me that Dan Flash clip.
Dan Flash.
Dan Flash. Basically, I thought, is this actually a clip about
That's Tim
Robert
Robinson.
Graham?
I think you should leave show. It's very funny. Just
Oh my
just for
God.
your you know, appendix. That's what that came from.
That's completely awesome, and
As
I'm like, I mean, I don't mind the shirts, but I'm
Because
kind
they're
of getting
completely
tired of them.
complicated. That's why these shirts cost so much money.
Well, if you're just spending all your money on shirts and not food, then
This
somebody's gonna give.
this one isn't even a limited edition. This one's just your run of the mill awesome Robert Graham shirt, but the limiteds are.
Thank goodness that we got acquainted with a friend of mine, Jason Sarai, who I met a long time ago when he was a personal trainer back in around 2016. And he owns a custom suit making company. And I'm really happy that we've gotten in to see him and you've
Suit
been able
maker
to get
to the stars. And,
Yes.
and now I got one too.
And I'm happy you've been in there to get yourself some new custom clothes. And, you know, all green was your first outfit.
Monotone, green,
Monochrome.
green.
Monochrome. You got to talk fashion.
Chrome tone. What's the difference? What's the difference between monotone and monochrome?
Well, the bottom line is it's all one color and it looks really classy and chic, not just flashy like Dan Flash. Anyways,
Classy as AF.
okay, so we just wanted to share our passion. Like, I finally got you to come sit down with me and talk about this because like we have a very fun lifestyle together. When I met you, I was quite in awe of the fact that you own a travel agency. I'm like, oh my God. If you're a girl on a dating app and you meet some guy, some man who's advertising the fact that you could have a 6-star luxury life and he owns a travel agency, it's like, wow, my life just got better. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to have so much fun. So how did you start this whole travel agency?
Well, I was very young in university. I was pre-med originally.
How old were you when you actually started university?
I started depending
skipped
on
a few
when.
years,
Yeah, I
right?
skipped a couple grades. I was 16 when I started university courses.
God.
By the time I was 19, and I was married with my first kid on the way. And so by the time
Ambitious.
I graduated, that's when I shifted gears from pre-med because there's no way that me as a father, and I was really excited about it. It wasn't an accident. I'm like, I'm so happy to be a dad, but I'm not going to sacrifice the 7 years of my kids' lives to go to med school. And so I shifted gears and became a marine biologist.
Oh,
But you can't raise a family on a marine biologist wages, unfortunately, very well, at least not to start with. So uh, my dad, who was retired technically, but a consultant for other businesses because he'd run 16 businesses over the course of his life, all very successful. And he decided to consult this travel agency.
hmm.
And he said, "Why don't you come give travel agency sales,
And
a
you were
try?"
never in sales at all in your life at that point.
Well, I
Like,
had sold door to door stuff during,
oh, really? I've never
in
really heard this. What sort of
college.
door-to-door stuff were you selling in college?
The Southwestern Company. I had to go down to
What is
Nashville
that?
for training, and then I went to
What was the
Toronto for
what
to
was the
knock on
actual
doors,
product though?
like encyclopedias.
You're
Old
kidding
school.
me.
This is
This is
pre-internet.
crazy.
This was
I can't
before.
believe this has never come
This
out.
was in
You've
like
never
the
told me this before.
90s, early 90s, 90, 92.
Wow. So you were a door-to-door salesman.
Yeah,
Like legit.
legit.
Wow.
I mean, and I had a wonderful training of getting doors slammed in my face all day, every day for a full summer.
Oh my gosh.
And that was like trial by fire. Anyways,
Okay.
we're off on a tangent here. Where are we going?
No, how
Anyways,
did you start this
so
company?
I had some sales background, so I said,
Mhm.
well, let's give it a go. And so I went and started selling travel for this travel company. Now, at the time, my dad had come in and started and helped this business, and really was selling like crazy because dad's good at it. And I came, and he had really had the record for the highest sales in any given month for the company. I came in my first month and I broke dad's record, so I kind of had a knack for it.
So this is a little company up in Kelowna. Is that right? You guys were in Kelowna
Yeah,
at the time?
it was a good size, agency.
Okay.
And so yeah, started working with them, and kind of didn't look back because in my first month I made 4 times the money I did as a marine biologist. So I'm like,
And so what
okay,
kind of
now I can
travel
feed my family on this income.
well, what kind of trips were you actually selling though back then?
Cruises, a lot of
Cruises?
cruises, interline
Hmm.
cruises for airline employees, filling up ships at the last minute,
Okay.
which we still do today. It's still a huge part of my current company.
Hmm.
But a couple years in, that company shifted gears. It was the beginning of the internet.
Hmm.
And so they wanted to become one of the first online agencies where you book online. We don't need
Hmm.
a travel agent, blah, 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 blah. And they said, well, if you guys who are travel agents up to this point want to stick around, you're going to take a huge pay cut because we're just going to be a call center now and people are going to book online
Hmm.
and I said, well, I'm not going to take a huge pay cut. I'll just start my own agency because I recognize the value of a travel agent taking good care of a client and being an orchestrator of joyful moments.
Okay, that takes a lot of balls.
Yeah.
So, like, how on earth, like, what did you have inside of yourself? Like, I'm still mystified by you, but how on earth did you think you could start a company like that at
Huge
that point in your
amount
life?
of arrogance and confidence.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
that hasn't changed.
basically I can do whatever I set my mind to.
Well, so far so good. So
Yeah,
far so
well,
good.
yeah.
Okay. So
So
you've started this company about 26 years ago, 27 years you've been in business. You have 150 agents around the world in 17 countries, and I'm
mhm.
one of your newest agents. Well,
Oh,
relatively new agents.
well, you're on probation. We'll see if you stick
Probation.
around.
Oh my God. Well, I got my early day sales career started selling photocopiers.
Mm,
So, kind of a similar background to you. And I've been in sales my whole career. Um, the biggest thing though, like I could go on for days about my sales career. I've just been the kind of person that always gets what I want. About 9 years ago, I quit my job selling medical devices because I actually got to a place where I didn't like it for
mhm.
personal reasons and it was just so boring. Basically, a pivotal change for me came last January where I drove down to California by myself on a road trip and I just did a reset in life. I'm like, I'm completely miserable living in Vancouver. This is before I met you. I need to figure my shit out. Like, I have no idea of what direction to go forward in. I'm on my sort of last year of, in my mind, like, wasted time. Like, I need to actually come up with a direction. So I drove down to California over 3 days by myself, which I think for a woman is pretty ballsy. You
Yep.
basically can't imagine me doing that, I'm sure.
Oh, you're extremely ballsy.
Okay, so I did that, and some really interesting things happened for me on that trip. I spent a lot of time listening to David Giham and learning about Kabbalah, as well as coming across Bashar. So I've never been somebody on a spiritual journey up until this point. And I was just filling hours in the car. I didn't even know I was looking for a spiritual journey,
Mhm.
but it just kind of happened. I came back from California. While I was there, I did a lot of things. I played pickleball, I connected with people, I just hung around and went to like the best places and just enjoyed wherever anything took me. And really, when I hooked into this Bashar thinking, that's one of the biggest things that changed me. And when I came back to Vancouver, I had a different mindset, a different outlook, and that's kind of how I met you. And
Mhm.
yeah, so then I started working with you as a travel advisor, and we've joined together, and I've come up with some ambitious plans for for working with you.
Cool, cool. You haven't really explained the Bashar thing. I could kind
Well,
of,
you should go back into
well,
Bashar.
okay, so really quickly, I've, been a spiritual person my whole life, and I've always had a huge amount of respect for all the different faiths. I studied in university as a minor, religious studies, and went through, read all the books, the Bible, the Quran,
Mm.
the Book of Mormon, the
That
Bhagavad
sounds like a
Gita, like
lot of
all of these.
boring material.
Yeah, it was fascinating just to see different people and how they connect with whatever
Mm.
source energy, creator, divinity
Mm.
that they connect with, and I respect it all. I never, and this is the thing that I think is important to me, is everybody has their path, everybody has the right to yeah, connect with that source the way they want to. Um, the thing that gets me, and it even got me when I was early on as a youth pastor, it's like there was this idea of we're right and you're wrong. There's
Mm.
you're in or you're out. There's us. There's them.
Mhm.
And I've always had a problem with that at a level, even within Christianity. I don't think Jesus ever said that. I think Jesus was a universal minded kind of
Mm.
a person, just elevated.
So how did you get into Bashar though?
So moving through this, and with the conflict I had within me with the idea that the institutional church is very much you're in or you're out. You don't say the magic Jesus words and you go to hell, sort of thing. Like that always rubbed me the wrong way, because I don't actually believe that, and I never did. But long story short, I went from there to kind of being more open-minded again, reading some other books, looking at people like Wayne Dyer, and then Wayne Dyer, who really looked up to someone like Esther Hicks, Abraham, teachings of Abraham,
Mhm.
and then more recently, I'm really riffing on Bashar, who is kind of like the idea of same thing. There's the what do you call it, the law of attraction and stuff like that, but Bashar is more um,
Like follow your
more
highest passion.
details, a little bit more
Yeah.
details than whereas
Mhm.
Hicks is more of foundational, bigger picture.
So I
So,
think we're kind of like dancing
but
around,
that's
but
just
like,
where I am right now. I might be somewhere else 10 years from now. Who knows?
but
But
we're
it's
both
just
kind of
it's
like,
a evolution, right?
really what we're trying to describe is the formula. So
Yeah.
the thing with Bashar that I'm kind of neglecting to kind of point out is he wrote this thing called the formula.
Hmm.
And the way I interpreted that was that you're following your highest joy, take it as far as you can. Every time you're doing anything, you're doing it out of joy and sheer passion. So for me, I kind of look back now in my life and I've basically been operating like that from a very young age. Like I have never set limits on myself. I'm a little bit like drift in the wind with like my highest joy and passions,
Yeah.
and like it could be anything from buying things to doing things to trying things. I continually
Well,
like move through that, and I've never really had some kind of program around an outcome. Like that's the other thing about me that's different. Like people have always looked at me over my life and like,
mhm.
how does she get that? What is she doing now? Who does she think she is? Like I've literally been just following my joy without realizing what I'm doing. I
It's
just
kind of shocking and annoying to see how basically just things just happen for you
well they
because
do.
you
They
refuse
always
to
have.
believe that they won't. And
Exactly.
it's just this stubborn, like it's gonna work, and
Yeah.
lo and behold, it
When
does
I
work.
read the formula,
Yeah.
I was actually like, holy crap, that was like a huge moment for me when I'm like, I've been operating like this forever.
Yeah.
I couldn't describe what it is I'm doing. Like, I've never been worried about something. Like, you know how people are like, oh my God, I got to fit the script and I'm worried. I'm like, got to find a husband
Yeah.
and do all this, whatever. And like, worry about the future and retirement.
Yeah.
I've literally, honestly never done that since 13. Like,
So in these teachings, and again, we're not here to preach about teachings. It's just this
no.
kind of what we're riffing on currently in our lives is, one of the things I call is upstreaming or downstreaming.
Mm.
So in any given moment and any situation, or the first time you walk through a door or enter into a new situation, you kind of have a choice to follow what feels better or feels worse. So
Mm-hmm.
you can dwell on something negative that's happening, or you can dwell on something slightly less negative, or however you want to look at it. But the the idea that seems to be very true for me
Hmm.
is that you get what you think about, whether it's something you want or whether it's something you don't want. So the idea is if you're dwelling on something that you don't want to happen, ultimately you're creating the energy for that thing to happen.
Hmm.
Whereas if you're dwelling on something that you do want to happen, you're going to move in that direction. And so that's like floating downstream with a good vibe versus paddling hard upstream against a bad
Hmm.
vibe that you want to avoid. It's upstream and downstream. But
So I kind of feel like since we've gotten together, like
mhm,
after Bumble and I've gotten to know you, like
mhm,
it just feels like we're really aligned on the same page. You do own this cool travel company. I can work with you. I thought there's no way on earth am I going to come into some sort of 9 to 5 job. Well, this man's traveling the world. So I was pretty creative and did this huge proposal to you of why I should be in your company and in your agency.
mhm.
And it's working out pretty well so far.
Yeah, absolutely.
I drive you a little bit crazy.
Well, that's not a long drive, right?
That's true. So together it seems like we do have a little bit of like alchemy and like
Yeah,
things are opening up for us together.
sure.
Um, we're meeting people. Like I've never met so many interesting people. And it's like I have this thing that I heard from somebody interesting I've met recently, but you're one conversation away from everything being different tomorrow.
Hmm.
And all this sort of Bashar stuff you read, and if you flip through Instagram and you start looking at these reels, being delusional about like what is possible for yourself makes everything possible.
Hmm.
I actually really believe that. And I feel like it's just between us, things have just been swirling into like almost like a frenzy of everything's happening between
Hmm.
us and we're just going from there. So I feel like us coming on here and wanting to talk about these things is us wanting to share this energy with other
Well,
people.
yeah, and living a life that's full of joy and all the things that you want. And ours has obviously a travel bent. We love seeing the world
Hmm.
and connecting with other cultures, connecting with other, just visiting and exploring and all that. So that's kind of where that philosophy or that spirituality comes into what we actually do, uh, you know, in a practical way.
Okay, so we actually spend a lot of our time traveling. There's a lot of recent travels. I mean, we were just in Maui for 10 days.
Yeah,
And that is your
never enough
favorite
time.
happy place.
Maui's my happy place.
That's like
Maui's
the one place that Kyle goes and actually turns
we
off
looked at
his
last year.
phone.
Yeah, it turns off my phone. We last year we I did an analysis of how many trips I took, and it was my busiest travel year ever, and it was too much. I over traveled last year, which I didn't
Is
think is
that even like
possible.
possibly a
I didn't
thing?
think it was possible till last year, but I'd had 20 out of country trips
Hmm.
in a 12-month period, and they were wonderful. But around October, I'm like, oh, I'm getting a little bit tired. Like I really want to have a good
Hmm.
solid stretch of home time.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, but when I do Maui, that's where the one trip where I go where I'm like, don't talk to me. And my wonderful management team runs
Hmm.
the show, and I'm like, unless it's life or death, I don't want to hear about it. And so I go there, and Maui's just a happy place. I recharge my batteries, and it's
Being there
wonderful.
with you is quite interesting because you're obsessed with the Fairmont brand, and
Yeah,
we stayed at the Fairmont Kailani,
yeah.
and this like kind of tags into this thing where you like to think of like property as family. Like the Fairmont brand
So
treats you like family.
I've kind of defined, and I'm sure a lot of people who traveled, into the 5 star and high end travel can see there's different types of luxury.
Mm.
So there's a type of luxury where they treat you like royalty.
Mm.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. What can I do for you? They anticipate your needs, and they're right there as your servant.
Mhm.
Then there's another type of luxury which similar, but you're treated not so much like royalty as you are like a valued member of a special member of the family.
Mm.
Royalty versus family.
Mhm.
Both are good. But let's easy comparison, Four Seasons royalty, Fairmont family.
Mhm.
Both are awesome.
Mhm.
And you might really love that Four Seasons vibe, which
The
is
Fairmont
amazing.
was so
The
relaxed though.
Fairmont vibe in
It's so chill
Hawaii, in,
there.
in Maui, the difference is
No pretension.
it
The
wasn't
guests are chill.
pretentious. It was
The most pretentious person at the Fairmont was you,
what
actually.
are you
And I
talking
was
about?
probably the best dressed one there, but anyhow.
I mean, no one's better dressed than me. Forget that.
No, you were the most pretentious person, I said. Let's not
I'm
confuse the
I
two.
don't I don't even know what that means. I'm just amazing all the time.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Anyways,
Anyways,
so we went over the Four Seasons, and we go visit there.
it was such a different energy.
Yeah,
The minute we walked into the Four
yeah,
Seasons, it felt pretty electric, actually. Like, for me, right away, I felt like a tension in the air. Like, it felt like everybody's looking at each other to see who's wearing which brands, what sort of
yeah,
handbag the lady has on, what sort of
yeah,
watch the gentleman had.
yeah.
The Fairmont, nobody was looking at your Frank Mueller. And at the Four Seasons, somebody might have noticed the Frank Mueller. But
Um,
it's actually a visible energy. You felt it too when we were getting in there. The attitude I felt as well when we were trying to get seated
yeah.
at Spago. it was quite like, you could wait back there. Like it
Yeah.
felt a little bit like the
Oh,
whole mentality when you walked into the Four Seasons was like,
yeah.
we're here and like, you're important, but like we'll see you when we're ready. It didn't feel like
Yeah.
welcoming like when we were hanging out at
Well,
the
I don't
Fairmont.
know. I mean, yeah, yes, but it did. You did feel important. You feel important in both of those places.
Hmm.
But what I really like most about the Fairmont Kea Lani in Maui and Wailea is that it feels very Hawaiian. It's very authentic Hawaiian.
Hmm.
You've got the whole Hawaiian cultural area that they've just set up there recently in their new renovation and all that.
Hmm.
When you're there, you know you're in Maui. When you're inside at the Fairmont at the Four Seasons, you could be in Hawaii, you could be in Singapore, you could be anywhere because it's just a Four Seasons feel
Hmm.
a little bit more than a Hawaii feel.
Hmm.
So I like the Hawaii feel. I
That's cool.
really resonate with the Ohana vibe. Like you may not be blood related, but your family. You
Hmm.
give back to the people. You take care of each other, and I just really like that vibe.
Hmm.
So that's the difference.
So this trip to me, like this was actually pretty special because Caitlin was there. So that's my daughter. She's 21 now.
Mm,
And as a parent, this whole thing, like traveling to Hawaii with your daughter as an adult, is so special and it's such a wonderful opportunity. And for me, this kind of like ties into why travel is so important, like for people and why we're even here talking about any of this.
mm,
To me, everything that we do with our lives, like by intention, you can spend money buying your kid an iPad or another pair of Uggs. And sure, I've bought my kid iPad. Caitlin's got Uggs. She's had every last Lululemon iteration outfit over the years. But where everything really ties together for me is the memories we've created. So most of the spring breaks over the years, Caitlin and I, or in a family setting, have gone away on trips. And those memories are the most important part of it. Like
mhm,
we spent great time with Caitlin, and she still gives me the side eye, which
yeah,
you got to witness. But she likes you quite a bit, and
yeah.
yeah.
Well, okay. So memories, moments, and this is sort of a philosophy of the company and why I'm so passionate about travel and being in the travel industry as
Mhm.
opposed to my original plan of being a doctor. I believe a travel agent is just as important in your life as your doctor.
Mhm.
Because your travel agent is the person who is responsible to orchestrate the joyful memories of your life, the joyful moments that you have worked so hard for to get to, whether it's your retirement years or whether it's that 2 week
Mhm.
vacation that you've worked the other 50 weeks of the year to get
Mhm.
to. It's our job to make sure that that is the best, most rich time
Mhm.
of your year or of your years, and to me, that's just as valuable as your family doctor. Because
Mhm.
what do you talk about when you're with your friends? What do you do? Telling you your story, having these memories, being able to have something that puts a smile on your face when you're doing the daily grind and be like,
Mhm.
I remember that, or I'm looking forward to that.
I know. And then when you're thinking about your money and your budget, right? Like some people are like budget conscious, they're thinking about money. You and I are not coming at life like that. Like we never have. So no matter how little money I've ever had or how
Yeah,
much money I've had, I don't ever decide on anything on the budget. I've never
yeah.
had a budget, which probably scares some people, but like those are not my people,
Well, that
right?
goes back to the Bashar and the law of attraction thing. I have always spent above my pay grade, and people are
Oh
like,
my
why
God.
did you do that? And I'm like, you know what? But as over the years, as I spend above my pay grade, eventually my pay grade catches up. It's always you can never, and I'm always very generous. So the
Hmm.
more I give, the more that comes back, and it's weird. If I
Yes.
if I over tip or if I overgive, somehow that blessing comes back to me.
This
And
is disturbingly true. And the funniest thing about all of this is that the two of us are so aligned. Like I have never met another man that's walked me into Holt Renfrew and said, buy any dress you actually want. And I'm like, are you kidding me?
yeah,
Every man I know is trying to get me out of Holt Renfrew.
yeah,
And you literally took me into Holt Renfrew and said, get whatever you want. So you were like that your whole life. I've
mm,
been this way my whole life. No matter how much money I had, I spent a lot of it.
yeah,
I didn't worry about anything as far as how much it cost. I
yeah,
got more money. I just had jobs and got more money.
yeah,
Always, it just kept happening. And it's like, one time I bought this ridiculous Volvo
mm,
because I thought, oh, I live in a suburb. I live
mm,
in Port Moody. I have a family. I need to buy a Volvo. I hated the Volvo.
yeah,
And I sat there and like about 2 years later, I managed to find out how I was going to get the BMW. So like
yeah,
I felt like I could only afford the BMW
yeah,
after I'd arrived. But you know what? No, I just figured out
yeah.
how to get it, got it, and we just go from there.
Yeah.
But
So we're
being
being very
generous,
irresponsible.
well, I don't know.
But
It's a mindset.
it is a mindset.
But
But the thing is, it works, especially if I
mhm,
think it takes a generous spirit. It's like, you know what?
yeah,
I'm not, this is wasteful spending, blah, blah, blah.
mhm,
That's
no.
again, that's the upstream, that's negative. But
Mhm,
if it's like, you know what? I'm buying this fancier car and
mhm,
and it's supporting the people who made it, it's supporting the dealer, it's supporting a whole bunch of
mhm,
people who put their effort into
mhm,
uh developing this car and working hard, and I'm going in it with a generous spirit, being like, you know what, I'm going to pay them all for their
You are one of the
generosity,
most
for their
generous
hard
people
work.
I've ever met in my life. Like you are very, very generous. I've never met somebody more generous. You overtip,
Mm.
you buy people things. You take any of your friends and you look at them and they're like, how can I make their life better? And you do things. You take your friends on trips. So you're super generous to your kids. You're super
Yeah.
generous to me.
That's the key though. It's not about I'm doing this because I want to be recognized for it.
No,
I
you
don't like
absolutely don't.
advertising that I'm generous, but
No.
it's something where I do it because it brings me joy and I
Hmm.
love making other people smile. And
Hmm.
that's the key, I think, to going above your pay grade.
Yeah.
But and then, bringing that back, you're talking about, bringing your daughter on this trip, and
Oh my God.
we want to talk about the title of this podcast that we've just came up with.
Yeah, burn your kids' inheritance.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what happened, but you took Caitlin into a designer shop and bought her a designer bag, and I was kind of like, I don't know if I was like horrified or jealous or like what's actually happening here,
I think it was a little bit of both, because you already had a Lady Dior and you already had a Chanel,
or
but
she's a
she got a
con
Louis
artist just
Vuitton,
like
so
me.
it
Like,
was
what the
like
hell?
that was like the third
How
one.
did she get you in the Louis Vuitton stores? What I'd like to know.
I just said, find something that brings you joy and let's go take a look at it.
Oh,
Like,
great.
if it speaks to you, if it says to you, you need to own me, then like, let's make that
I
happen.
actually had to leave the store. I don't know why I left the store, but I just felt like this is a little surreal and a little strange. And now you've broken the seal, and her dad's
Well,
not gonna
my
like
whole
you.
philosophy with shopping is,
Oh my
if it
God.
jumps out at you and
Oh my
says,
God.
if you, it's like, it's almost like in your
You
mind,
are a
this is like flashing,
shopaholic.
like this has to be mine.
Oh, is that kind of like Belder over there on your? What's that? Why are you wearing a robot?
Belder, like,
What's that thing on your
am I
neck?
wearing a robot or is the
Yeah.
robot wearing me?
Oh God.
It's, AI, it's a statement, but it's also got this really cool
Well, that spoke
paint
to
on it.
you. We were in Hawaii shopping, and we're like in the shops in no, this was in Kaanapali at like one of these artsy fartsy shops, and like Kyle's like surfing around.
This one was the Wailea shops, I think, wasn't it?
No, that was
Oh no, it was
Kaanapali.
Kaanapali. Okay, yeah.
Kaanapali, Whalers Village. Kyle
Whalers
strolls
Village.
in. He's like buying everything in sight. He's like, you were a shopaholic. You spent the most money on this trip. Kaylin got a designer bag. I got like a freaking
I
dress,
didn't
or
spend
I
well.
think I got a
I got
dress or
a
two.
piece, a couple of art pieces, and
Yeah,
it
and then
didn't
you
go
got
nuts.
like Belder over there.
It's okay. First of all, I don't know why you keep saying Belder. I think you'd
Well,
say
I don't
that.
know. It's kind of
So
like Sheldon,
no,
Bender,
yeah.
Belden.
I'm a huge Futurama fan. So if I'm gonna have a
Oh
robot
my
on my
God.
neck, he's gonna be called Bender
And you're
because I
basically a
relate to
Sheldon,
Bender.
and then we know what we're talking about there.
Bender's the
You're
best.
basically like this huge Big Bang kind of nerd sort of guy.
I
You're like
like
a
I like all
fashionable
the things that
Sheldon. Anyways,
I like
I
cool
think
things.
I don't even know what we're talking about, but like you're wearing a
The
robot right now.
podcast
Oh,
name.
right.
So you're calling it burning the kids'
Burn the
inheritance.
kids'
Now,
inheritance.
I had
Provocative,
in my mind
sexy,
it was
funny,
the
tongue
whole
in cheek.
idea. We need to back up and talk about
Okay.
the whole point of this.
Okay.
So a couple years ago, I'm at the International Luxury Travel Market conference, which was in Cannes in France. It happens
Mm-hmm.
every year, first week of December usually.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the keynote speakers, it's the biggest luxury conference annually, I think, worldwide for luxury
Right.
travel agents.
So as an agency owner, it makes sense that you go there.
Yeah, it's the same place that they have the Cannes Film Festival. It's huge. It's in this building. It's 3 stories of massive
French
displays
Riviera,
from
pretty glamorous.
hotels and cruise lines and all kinds
Mm-hmm.
of travel suppliers and people. But their keynote speech, they had 3 speakers, and one of the speakers was from Bloomberg Marketing, and they came out and said, "Here's an interesting, really interesting statistic, which is that there's a change in spending habits that's between different generations.
Mhm.
So and it starts the baby boomer generation and older, so like silent generation and all that, were raised in almost sort of a shortage mentality.
Mhm.
Conserve your money, save your money, pay off your mortgage,
Mhm.
have a big bank account, and leave that as an inheritance after you
Mhm.
pass away.
Mhm.
And as time goes on, those generations are over the next 20 or plus years, as those generations start to pass on,
Mhm.
they're passing on inheritances to Gen X, millennials, Gen Z,
Mhm.
the younger generations, and we're Gen X, which is, by the way, the best generation. No arguments there.
Mhm.
We are much more experience oriented. So
Mhm.
Gen X is on the cusp where millennials and Zs are definitely like, we're not interested in hoarding up our money and being storage. We want to experience life now. And so the point is, the amount of money from those boomers and older coming down to the X's and younger is in the range of $100 trillion with a T. That money is currently
An actual
stored
T.
up in real estate of these that they own,
Mhm.
where they live, and their bank accounts.
God.
And that money is coming now to those of us who spend.
That's true. And it's still a small
And
percentage of
so the
people.
idea what that we're saying is, first of all, hey boomers and older.
Hey,
My
boomers.
dad's silent generation. He's
He's
80,
past boomer.
87, and
Still winning.
yeah, and I'm like, guys, I tell my dad, I don't want a penny of your money when you
Hmm.
pass away. And by the way, I could get hit by a bus tomorrow, and then who are you going to leave it to? Spend it now.
Yeah.
Um, and that's the whole idea. Blow your kid's inheritance or blow
Yes.
through your kid's inheritance, but you like
It's
to be
tongue
more
in cheek.
provocative,
It's
call
tongue in
it
cheek.
burn your kid's
Well,
inheritance. But the idea is, hey, let's go on a trip together
yeah.
or go on a trip on your own. Enjoy yourself. I want
Hmm.
nothing more than to see you have fun now than work so hard to save it all up
Right.
and then never really enjoy it
It's
yourself.
almost like a mindset of here's permission. Here's
Yeah.
a way of looking at life. Like you and I are very unique people. I'm sure there's a lot of people who want to live the lifestyle that we do. I'm sure a lot of people might not agree with some of the things we're saying, and that's okay.
Mhm.
But we are just here to give you permission to say, live life by your own design. It's all out there. The more you see for yourself, the more you get. And I think both of us are examples of living that exact vision. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
so far it's working for us.
So hey, everybody, we encourage you to burn through the kids' inheritance.
Burn your kids'
You
inheritance.
work hard for your money. Now
Yeah.
enjoy it, have fun
Right.
with it. Yeah, it's might some people may say, well, that's irresponsible because what's going to happen when you retire? Where's your retirement fund? Well, be responsible as you can, but also realize life can be short. You might not make it to retirement age. Have some fun now.
That's true. And
Don't.
travel is a very important thing. Like let's
Yeah.
think about how important travel is. Like I want to look at COVID. Like you had some challenging times at
Mhm.
KVI, the
Yeah.
CEO of this company. You got through COVID, and let's talk
Yeah.
about that in a sec. But after COVID, like my philosophy and like my vision of what was happening during COVID is that people were bunkering down. We know that we're sitting in our house eating frozen pizza. We had Home Depot cards. We're maxed out because we're upgrading our home. We have the
Yeah.
biggest TV. We're nesting.
Everybody bought a dog.
Yeah, the house is great. You got a dog. You got a mountain bike.
Yeah.
You're eating. You're toggling between salt and vinegar chips, and then like all of a sudden like a margarita. Then you're having chocolate food group. Like you're toggling all day in and out of these modes, right?
Yeah.
I'm in my
Alcohol
pajamas.
companies did really well.
Yeah. So like that's what happened during COVID. But then I feel like there's almost like this exuberance, this energy that's like an elastic band that swung the other way. It's like now I'm gonna freaking travel.
Absolutely.
We're gonna travel, travel, travel.
Yeah.
And that's true for me. And I mean, if you have the ability to travel, travel is so important to people now.
Yeah.
Luxury travel is on the rise. Anybody who's traveling wants to travel. And like let's talk about the philosophy of traveling. Like when people are
Well,
traveling, as a woman, I can tell you, it's a place. It's not like it's a feeling. It's not a
yeah.
place, it's the feeling, right? So you
It's
get
enriching.
that's right.
It brings it. So there's a bunch of really good quotes about travel. One of them is, life is a book,
Mhm.
and those who don't travel only read one page, or travel is the only thing that you buy that makes you richer. I mean, the idea is the more you get to know other cultures and other places in the world, the more enriched you are as a human, the more stories you have to tell.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, stories telling is a huge part of what makes you interesting as a
It's
person,
true.
I think.
When people are traveling, it's like their most exciting days. Those
Yeah.
are days you're getting ready for. Those are your most exciting moments. Like
Yeah.
when I'm going on a trip, literally, and I don't want to speak for all women, but when I would say a lot of my friends, where I'm looking at going on a trip, I generally need a whole new wardrobe. My hair looks as good as it's ever going to look. It's freshly done. My nails are perfect.
You overpack.
I overpack. I have a lot of
Ridiculous.
stuff that I need to bring. But anyways, I mean, when you're going traveling, when you're thinking about traveling, these are some of your most exciting times in your life, right?
Yeah.
Like you're working hard all year, you're
Yeah.
working, you're creating money, you're
Yeah.
just looking at your options. And I think there's no other time where people are more excited than when they're on a trip.
Yeah.
So how
Even
important is
even
that
when
to
you even
people?
with your kids, it's like,
Mhm.
when I think about what are some of the most memorable moments I've had, with my children, I don't usually think about their grade 7 recital of the piano. It's more about,
Yeah.
what we did when we went to Mexico or Disneyland or things like that. It was,
Mhm.
that was cool and that was fun and it's a great memory and all that. And for them too, when they think about their childhood, what are the highlights? Disneyland, obviously, and things like that. It's like that was the cool thing I got to do as a kid.
And when they think about their dad, they're like Disneyland dad.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of people these days that are kind of like saying things like, oh, why do I need to hire a travel agent? I can just go on Expedia, or like, what about Trivago? And there's like all these systems and like all these ways to like book travel without a travel agent. So how are travel agents relevant? And how is your agency staying in business? Like there's a lot of people
We're
out
not
there.
just staying in business, we're thriving more than ever. And I don't need to pitch because we're so busy and doing so well that
Mhm.
I'm not trying to make a case for us. But at the end of the day, if you want to book a flight domestically from airport A to airport B on a
Mhm.
single flight, don't bother using a travel agent. Book it
Mhm.
online, 100%.
Yeah.
But if you want to do something that you don't know about, and you're going to trust the internet to get you there, it might go well, it might not go well.
Hmm.
But here's the thing that's kind of a myth about travel agents. Let's say you want to do a villa in Tuscany, or go on a cruise, but you haven't tried all the cruise lines. Well,
Hmm.
you bet your travel agent probably can give you information on why you should book a Silver Sea cruise versus a Royal Caribbean cruise,
Hmm.
depending on your needs.
Is it more expensive to use a travel agent?
That's
Like that's
no,
like the myth,
it's
right?
actually less expensive to use a
Yeah.
travel agent, because the travel agent on that Silver Sea cruise, if you try and book that, let's say on an online travel agency, we don't have to
Hmm.
name names,
Hmm.
it's going to pick you, based on the criteria that you plug in, but you might not know which criteria to plug in.
Hmm.
Whereas your agent knows exactly what to plug in. Your
Hmm.
agent's going to find you the better cabin and the better deck of the ship,
Hmm.
at the very lowest price, and most likely a travel agent is going to have some add-ons that website didn't have. You
Hmm.
might get onboard credit. You might get a specialty dining. You might get things like that. So you're going to get as good a price or better,
Hmm.
as good a cabin or better, from an agent who knows that you should be on this line versus that line. And there might be very subtle differences, and they can say, this one's more family feel, this one's more
Hmm.
royalty feel, for
Hmm.
example. And the thing is, the travel agent isn't generally uh, taking money from you. Your money is going to that cruise line, and at the end of the day, the cruise line pays back the travel agent
Hmm.
a commission out of there. So they're not adding a fee
Right.
to book through them. Now, there are a lot of times where a travel agent is working hard and doing a lot of research, and there might be a fee built in. But at the end of the day, you're
Hmm.
still getting a better value for your dollar than you would be by trying to put it together yourself or with an
So if
online
you're booking
agency.
like a basic trip, it's sounding like, Expedia or any of those sort of online
Well,
tools, that's okay. But if you're trying to get into something a little more complicated,
yeah,
where if you want to know anything about Italy
yeah,
or specific regions in Italy,
yeah.
going through a travel advisor is like a lot.
Generally better. And if someone came to me, and I'm not a travel agent anymore, I'm the CEO of
You
the
have
company.
people.
I do know, I still know how to answer the questions. So if someone came to me and said, "Yeah, I need to fly from A to B domestically, on a single flight," you can do that online. I'm not gonna save you any money. It's the same price everywhere.
Hmm.
But if you say, "I want to go from here to Genoa in Italy," well, now you could book that online and just figure it out. But it might be that, oh, you've only got an hour layover in Munich on the way there, but an hour isn't enough time.
Hmm.
You're not going to make that connecting flight, or your
Hmm.
luggage is going to get lost, because you need an hour and 45 minimum to make that connection.
Hmm.
Things like that. So it's where an agent comes in and says, or an agent might say, "I know you. I've been spending years with you. I know exactly what you love, and you're probably going to prefer to go to Villafranche versus
Hmm.
Genova, because this has got this element that you really like better. And
Hmm.
I know your passion, and I'm passionate about it too."
Hmm.
And, for example, a computer or AI is never going to tell you that they love how it smells in Maui,
Right.
because they don't have love. They can tell you that there are plumeria growing, but it doesn't have that emotional element. It can't look you in the eye and understand what you want, and have a connection there to explain. So,
And a lot of travel advisors, they are experts in different areas, right? Like a
yeah,
lot of travel advisors spend their entire
yeah,
career getting out there and seeing
yeah,
properties, researching properties, taking courses about understanding properties.
yeah.
And if you're like looking for some luxury travel,
Mhm.
it gets even more
Yeah.
specific and you really want to work with a travel advisor, it's
Well, and
feeling
this is
like.
also what I love about my team.
Hmm.
The KVI there. We have about 150 agents. It's not a huge, it's a big company, but it's not a massive company. There's
And it's
companies out there
Canadian
that have,
based.
it's
Oh,
it's it's
Canada.
global.
But
Yeah.
you started in
Well, our
started
head
in
office is here
Kelowna.
in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So, but I've got 150 agents, averaging about 30 years experience in the
Hmm.
travel industry.
Hmm.
That, do the math. We're well over 4,000 combined years of
Hmm.
experience in the travel business. So a client calls up to an agent and says, "I'm interested in skiing Chamonix in the Swiss Alps,
Hmm.
or French Alps, or I'm interested in going to the Kimberley on an expedition cruise in
Hmm.
Australia." Well, that agent might not know much about that, but I tell you, they have access to the team that we have of agents.
Hmm.
Somebody there has been there. Probably several of them have been there and done that, and they can tell you all about it. And so our team communicates with each other, and you get the benefit of 4,000 years of experience, with all stuff all over the world. So,
And then the team is obviously also able to access things like in-country partners and destination marketing companies. And the more experience you have, the
Yeah.
better you get at
Well,
understanding all of
there's
that.
another good example. So there's programs where if you go to an online agency, you book a hotel, whatever these sites, you see them on TV or Trivago's and things like that. Yep, that one's, why did you only pay 250 when I had to pay 329? Um, but guess what? I bet you a travel agent has a different price at about 280, and that's still $30 higher. But for that $30, you get early check-in, late checkout, upgraded room to a higher category, a
Mhm.
free breakfast included, and spa credit at the spa. So now for that extra $30 a night, you're getting a $200 or $300 value. That's what your travel agent can do that those websites won't do for you.
So we're being very tongue in cheek. Burn your kids' inheritance. We're
Yeah.
not talking about financial irresponsibility. We're not
Hmm.
encouraging you to go out and do anything
Sure.
crazy here, but we're just kind of like describing a way to look at living your life within reason, being responsible, and we have some better ideas for you about that as well.
Well, certainly. I mean, if let's say you're young and starting out in life and you're just kind of building into things and you might not have a travel budget.
Don't light the match yet.
Don't like that match yet because you don't,
Unless your parents give you the black card, it feels a lot like a lot of the friends we know have kids that have like credit cards hooked
yeah,
up to
if your parents gave you the
everything.
black card,
Beyond
fly at her.
DoorDash. Yeah, right?
But
G-Wagons,
when I was
Loewe
young, like
sweaters.
I've had a quite an interesting experience in my young years. I was, a fairly rich kid, with
You
wealthy
had a
parents,
pool.
well, I had a pool. I
The
mean,
kid who had a pool growing up in
we
my
had a
neighborhood
yacht,
was a
we
rich
had
kid.
a
I knew
limo.
one rich kid in my entire neighborhood. My
Here's the
high
thing, though.
school, one rich kid with a
Let me
pool.
explain something to you because I think this is important that I do understand being poor. There came a time in university once I had my first and my second kid, child, Alec and Sam, my boys, um, and the money disappeared. It
Mm.
went, the well ran dry.
Uh-oh, nothing
My
to do.
dad had a business transaction that ended up losing him $10 million because somebody frauded
So
and
you
went
didn't
out.
have a pool
Let me
for
explain.
a little
Somebody
while.
went frauded, went out and left the country, and all of a sudden, my reliability on my dad's income to
Wow,
look after me went out the window. All of a
that's
sudden,
no
I'm
fun.
broke, I'm poor, and there's no money. Dad recovered, by the way, because he's an amazing businessman, but it took a few years, and in
No
those few
doubt.
years, I had babies at home that I was trying to take care of while going to university and working part time. I ended up having to go to the food bank. I ended up having to collect some welfare. And even then, it wasn't enough. I had to go to the food bank and choose, okay, I'm not going to eat tonight unless I choose the diapers on that shelf versus the food on that shelf
So you
because
were
I
very
can't do
skinny back
both.
then, very skinny.
I was not
Were
very.
you at your skinniest?
Can you
Were you,
not
were you,
mock my sad story here?
I
The
don't think
point
it's
is,
that sad
the
because like you
no
look
no
healthy now.
it has nothing to do with now.
That's why I'm
At
here.
that time, I literally, there were nights where I was going to bed hungry because I had to make sure that I had diapers and food for my
So you
kids.
can appreciate all sides of this, right?
Yeah.
Like this is
And
actually
at that
cool.
time, obviously, I'm not thinking about traveling. I'm thinking about
Right.
how do I
Right.
survive the night
The
and the
hierarchy
next
of needs.
day
Yeah.
and
You
what
got
do
to
I do
put
to
food on the
try and
table.
generate income?
Yeah.
But then over time I started recovering and working harder and I had to do extra hours and I was in debt and I had to clear all of the debt. So my first if I was budgeting, it was like, I need to prioritize the things that are costing me interest. That's just
Right.
digging me a deeper hole.
Okay. So you've
Then the
learned
next,
financial
right.
responsibility
But then the
over
next
these years.
priority would be trying to save a little bit of money. But I would say that as you get a little bit further out, where you're actually putting some money away,
Mm-hmm.
always you put 10% in your savings for sure. That's a
Mm-hmm.
smart move.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have credit card debt or don't have high interest debt. That's a
Right.
smart move. But then if you do have a little extra, enjoy it now rather than packing it away
It's
like it
true.
has to be going to savings. Yeah, it's gonna if you put it all into savings, you're gonna build faster and you're gonna retire younger. But if you're not having fun in those up to your 50s because you're packing it all away, I think you're wasting your time.
I really like what you're saying. And there's this one buzzword that's popped into my mind lately, and it's really showing up in my daily life and the kind of things I'm trying to do. I have these like crazy goals, and I've been reaching out to new people and being really bold in my life. And the word contrast keeps showing up for me because I'm like, wow, contrast, without realizing how bad things have been or how crappy I felt in my life or how little I have had as well in my earlier days. I wouldn't understand how good it is now. And I wouldn't understand the value in good people and really good experience and enriching moments. So I feel like that word contrast, if I was to create or coin a buzzword for me in 2026, it's definitely contrast, because without seeing the bad or the dark, you can't see the light as bright.
Yeah.
Like I honestly feel that way, and it's coming up for me every day.
It's
So it's really
the
interesting.
major philosophical problem of evil. Why, if there's God, why does evil exist?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's like if there is no dark, how can there be any light? There
Mm-hmm.
has to be contrast,
Yeah.
and it's a philosophical thing to think about.
Very good, Kyle. So, you know, business class, like, do you always have to fly business class? I'm fine in economy.
Business class?
Yeah.
Well, I'm a bit of a
You're,
diva, a bit of a
yeah,
princess. I
you're
need
very diva-ish.
I don't fly business all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But I certainly, if I'm going to long haul, especially if I'm going to overnight sleep and I can afford it, I'm definitely going to be flying business. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm flying a 2 hour flight from A to B, I might just jump in
Everybody has
economy.
different values though, right? Like for me, my value isn't in that. I can be crunched up like a sardine as long as I have a window seat. I'm more than happy, because I'd rather pocket that extra $3,000
There's
and
something,
buy
but
a
it
couple of
feels
pairs of
it's
shoes.
something that feels good about being the first one to get on and not, and just
Oh my
having
God.
priority. Again, it's I'm
OCD, first
talking about
person
I'm
in the
talking
lineup,
about an
business
amazing
class,
feeling, the
zone
emotion
one,
to it.
pre boarding, Kyle Oram, first person in line every single time.
Look,
If
I've,
you are
I've, I've
not in
managed because
line,
I travel so much. I've gotten super elite status with
oh,
Air Canada
right.
and Star Alliance Gold,
That
and
leaves
there's
me
nothing
hanging a
better than
little
knowing
bit
that
on the
that
fringe.
VIP treatment that just feels good. It's like all about that.
You have to be number one. You're the number one person in the line before pre boarding. The last time we were in Europe together, I needed a hamburger worse than anything. And you didn't care. You didn't care about my needs, my basic needs to feed myself and nourish my body with a
I'm not.
McDonald's
I'm not
burger.
even gonna get
You
into
were
this.
standing in the line and we had 10 minutes to spare. They hadn't even called pre boarding, and I did not get a burger, and I was not a happy camper. And we had a big fight right when we boarded the
You
plane.
you are way too high maintenance.
I
First of
don't know
all,
about that.
you have two check bags everywhere you go because one for your shoes and your
I need a hat box.
38 different bottles of
I need a
whatever
hat
product you
box.
need to do to look like this. I just get out of bed, roll out of bed, and throw on a shirt, and
You
I'm
need
ready,
some
good to
powder.
go.
You need some
Oh,
powder. A
whatever.
little eye, under eye.
I got a little too much forehead shine.
I don't know what you've got.
Anyways,
So, another thing about you that I do appreciate is dining in Michelin restaurants. But people are starting to say, well, are these stars overrated?
Michelin. Here's the thing, and I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but you cannot buy a Michelin star. You
No.
don't know when the inspectors are coming. You don't know what to expect. You can do your best, and hope that as your expertise as a chef, like my nephew's becoming a chef and obviously will want a Michelin star,
Mm-hmm.
and he's well on his way. Hunter, he's awesome. Um,
I like the Michelin program.
they work hard, but contrast that to I'll just pick on cruise lines for a minute, even though
Mm.
they're my bread and butter and I love them. But the truth is, every cruise line in the world can claim they're rated number one in the world. You know why? Because there's so many different organizations that rank cruise lines,
Mm.
and you can pay or popularity contest your way into winning voted number
So you
one.
believe in the Michelin
But
star?
at the Michelin stars, there's no shortcuts. You can't buy it.
What's the documentary we just watched? What was it called?
Knife edge.
The Knife's Edge.
No, not the knife's edge.
I want to
Knife
call it the Knife's
edge.
Edge. The Knife Edge.
Okay, but if you want to
I
promote it to
yeah,
people,
I know.
knife edge, and it's all
I'm
about
bad on those details
restaurants
sometimes.
trying their best to earn a star or get from one to two or
That
two
was
to
a great
three.
documentary, actually. It
Yeah.
went all around the world, and it had several different markets profiling Michelin restaurants that were looking to get their first star or rise up to
Yeah.
2 stars. So
Well,
that
I'm
was
a
that
I'm
was
a
pretty
big
well done.
foodie, and I absolutely love dining in Michelin restaurants because you know that there's a standard there that they have to reach to hit that. Um, Also, there's a movie called The 100 Foot Journey, which is brilliant if you want to look at cooking and Michelin stars and all that. It's really cool. But at the end of the day, some of the best moments of my life are when I have spent time around a table with good friends
Hmm.
at a Michelin experience. The
Hmm.
best one of my life was actually I think it was called Cura, which is in the Four Seasons in Lisbon, and it was the best meal I've ever had in my life. I think it was at the time it was a 1 star. It might be two now, but they had this 13 course tasting menu, and the idea was each course was started in the north of Portugal and slowly went down all the way down to the south of Portugal. 13 courses paired with wines from the regions, and every time the course came out, they would present the course, talk about the region, then the
Hmm.
sommelier would come out and talk about the wine that pairs with it, and 13 courses, and I said, oh my God, 13 times in a row when I put that first bite in. And that to me is such a great memory because that was the epitome of a perfect moment, a perfect evening out, Michelin
Sounds pretty
star dining.
amazing.
So yeah.
Awesome. Well, that's great. We know how much you love Michelin restaurants, and anybody who knows you for more than a week knows you love McDonald's. You love McDonald's. You love McDonald's as much as you love Michelin
Listen,
restaurants, and it's a fact. When I met you, one of the most bizarre and things I had to figure out how to deal with was the fact that you ordered a McDonald's breakfast every single morning. Every single morning.
I'm a busy guy.
Yeah, and you actually love it. So
I
I
do.
love
I'm
you
not
to
doing it
death,
every
but
day
like
now,
that
but
is
I.
one of the most horrifying facts about you. So there's
Okay,
a lot of contrast
listen,
right
lady,
there.
I got to explain something to you. First of all, I might have my McBreakfast, but I also have my extremely healthy shake of
Your
greens and
nutrition
all that. My
shake,
nutrition
your
shakes.
powdered crap.
I've got my creatine in there. It's a
No,
fantastic. I
that's not
supplement.
nutrition.
I fill out
There's
the
no
nutrition
nutrition in that
profile.
shake. You have a terrible diet. We love
I
you. You
beg
haven't
to
missed a
differ,
meal.
Miss Lady. You're so
You
wrong.
can go from
By the way,
Michelin,
and
which
let
is
me tell you something
crazy.
else about McDonald's. These fancy coffee makers and these Nespressos and these espresso machines and all that. I'm sorry, but they all taste burnt to me. I don't, you can brag about your fancy Italian coffee. I'm sorry, but Italy is good at pasta. Italy is good at art, romance,
Kelly,
everything else. But when it
Tyler,
comes
you're
to
bullying me
coffee, the
again.
best coffee in the world is McCafe from McDonald's. It's hot bean water, and that's all I want to drink. Give me my hot bean water. It's perfect. I
It's
don't, and it doesn't taste burnt like these fancy European coffees. End of rant.
wow. Wow. Okay, you're trying to tell me that McDonald's coffee is better than Italian
By
coffee?
far, no
I
contest.
have no words.
I'm
I have
telling you,
no words.
Italy does a
No
million
words
things
left.
better than McDonald's, but coffee,
Somehow,
McDonald's got it.
somehow this is taking a really weird turn about McDonald's, and
Hey,
yeah.
I love what I love.
All right. Good to know. Glad to know.
So yeah, this is our first.
AVI logo.
This is the
The
logo
ship.
of my company, but for this podcast, we've got a logo just for this podcast. That,
Yes.
again,
Beautiful.
goes to
It's coming
our
next.
funny little burn your kids inheritance.
Right. Tongue in cheek. Not seriously.
BYKI podcast.
That's right.
.com,
Yes.
.net, .org, .info,
To be determined.
.edu,
Coming to you new.
all the dots.
Soon. Coming to you soon.